Washington, D.C., a new analysis by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reveals how changes in complaint responses provided by nationwide consumer reporting companies resulted in fewer meaningful responses and less consumer relief. In 2021, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion together reported relief in response to less than 2% of covered complaints, down from nearly 25% of covered complaints in 2019. America's credit reporting oligopoly has little incentive to treat consumers fairly when their credit reports have errors, said CFPB Director Rohit Chopra. Today's report is further evidence of the serious harm stemming from their faulty financial surveillance business model. Credit reporting plays a critical role in consumers' lives and has an enormous reach beyond consumer financial services. More than 200 million Americans have credit files, and lenders rely on this information to decide whether to approve loans and on what terms. Consumer reporting also informs decisions about employment, insurance, housing, and even essential utilities. For consumers, inaccuracies on credit reports drive up the cost of credit and severely limit opportunities, such as starting a small business or buying a new home. Consumers submitted more than 700,000 complaints to the CFPB regarding Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion from January 2020 to September 2021, which represented more than 50% of all complaints received by the agency for that period. Consumers submit more complaints about inaccurate information on their credit and consumer reports than about any other problem. Consumers most frequently assert that the inaccurate information belongs to someone else, and consumers often describe being victims of identity theft. The CFPB found the three companies often failed to provide substantive responses, especially when they alleged the complaints were sent in by third parties. However, consumers can authorize third-party representatives to submit complaints on their behalf.
This is a real-life reporting from the CFPB on January 5th, 2022. And this is a clear, cut and dry explanation of how the credit bureaus use the stall tactic of clients not sending in the dispute themselves as if it matters. The CFPB Director Rohit Chopra said it himself, America's credit reporting oligopoly has little incentive to treat consumers fairly when their credit reports have errors. Remember that word, consumers. That's what you are, a consumer. And just so you know, an oligopoly is basically limited competition. The three major credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, have very little competition. They have so much power that it almost doesn't matter, and this is why they're getting away with doing only 2%, less than 2% of the complaints covered, down 25% of the covered complaints in 2019. Absolutely ridiculous. Stop identifying yourself as a citizen of the United States, but instead a consumer. We'll talk more about that later. But this is an awful thing that the credit bureaus are doing, and it's holding up people's lives. A lot of people don't even realize that this is actually grounds for a lawsuit. This is your boy Dice from Noble Credit Pull, and I just pulled up to the Pull Up Podcast. Signing out. Noble.
Many too damn fly to me. Who's that guy with the juice like pot? Tell me keep it cool. We don't do bad vibes. Maybe make money moves. Can you move to the side? Make room for the guard.